Hello, my YouTube friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a very, very, very special guest for you today. Hopefully, you have seen our other shows with Larry, and he has a podcast called Living with Lewy. Is that correct?
That is correct. And Louis needs to be spelled Lewy because, believe it or not, AI will spell it Louis.
Oh, all right.
So,
So, so Larry here is, I can call you a friend now, right? We've known each other long
yes,
enough. We're friends. Okay, good.
yes.
So Larry is a very dear friend of mine, and he is living with Lewy body dementia. And we have decided to partner up and do some shows, but he has this amazing podcast. If you have not seen it, I do have links to it. I'll have links down below and also throughout my channel, Facebook page, everywhere. You need to check it out. You need to watch all of his podcasts because they're just absolutely amazing. And we have collaborated because we can see things from two different perspectives. Right, Larry?
Yes, I would, and I would tell you that my podcasts are at the moment audio only, so they can be heard on any of your podcast listening platforms: iHeart, Spotify, Apple, all of those. We haven't made the leap into YouTube as of yet. That's something that we're looking at in the future, but I would have to tell you that I find our conversations extremely interesting because we are on opposite sides of the lens of life, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
I
Our
think it's interesting to have
conversations,
both perspectives.
yes, our conversations have really enlightened me as well. And hopefully the viewers too, because that's why we're both here.
That's
And
exactly right. And you know
yep,
what?
what?
And I will say this, that the popularity of your program, the popularity of my program are testament to the fact that there's a lot of people out there that need to hear um, that they're not alone and that their situation is not hopeless, that there are ways to get more positive, um, uh, more quality of life in a situation that may otherwise not look that way.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And so, all of you viewers out there, you know what you need to do. You need to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts because Larry and I have already planned out several more shows that are going to they're just going to blow your mind. But today, we're going to concentrate on communication because if you don't have good communication, you're not going to have anything but troubles. Um, and Larry and I want to help you with those troubles, right, Larry?
Correct. We don't. We want to lessen the amount of trouble that you have to go through.
Yes, on both sides,
Right.
on both sides, because I've always said that my mission is really to relieve the burden of suffering for the person with dementia. But in order for me to do that, I have to go through you. You're the one, you're the one that I need to connect with, and you're the one that I need to help to make that happen for your person with dementia. So I actually end up helping both people, but I ultimately started out wanting to serve the person with dementia. So, but it's a twofer, and I couldn't be happier about that. So we're glad you're here. And with that, we are going to go ahead and dive into the show.
Well, welcome back to this week's edition of Living with Louie. We're back with Debra Costu, and we are going to be talking about communication, and we hope to bridge it a little bit later into how communication affects behavior. Is that correct, Debbie?
Yes. Yes.
So, on your subject of communication, I happen to have something that was given to me today, as a matter of fact, by my therapy team. And it's actually a booklet on memory care. that they brought to me, and it's really from my wife. And so I opened up to the section on communication today, just so we could talk about this. So, how would you like to start this communication about communication?
Well, Larry, I think that the whole concept of communication, a lot of people, they don't really understand how valuable communication is in our everyday life, first of all. But then to add in a person with cognitive decline into the mix really completely changes the whole ball game. Um,
It it seems to me that um, communication is not always what you say as it is how you say it.
right,
I
right.
use I used to tell people, I say, and I used to teach defensive driving and all these classes. But one of the things that I used to tell them is that you have a lot of choices to make.
Hmm.
And I said, if you don't believe me, I said, I'm going to give you a little illustration. If I go home from work tonight and I've had a bad day, I can either go home and I can walk in the house and I can say, honey, where's my dinner? Why isn't my dinner on the table yet? I said, probably not going to get the best response. I said, but if I go home and I fill the tub with nice bubble bath, put some roses, put a glass of wine there, I tuck her in and I cook dinner, I got a whole nother evening going on. I said, so the choice is, which button do you want to push? You want to push the bad button or the good button? And that is so true with communicating on any level. And it's, I think, especially as you say, with people like myself that have dementia, uh, if my wife gets agitated, she knows to step back and take a breath and,
Right.
and, and then come back at it rather than to just come right at me because she knows that that's going to be met with not any type of physical aggression, but some verbal aggression, if you will.
Right. Yeah, and Larry, it's interesting that you kind of jumped right into where I was going to go more at the end, but
I jumped into
since
the deep end of the pool.
you just diving right in there, Larry, and that's what I love about you because I'm that kind of girl too. But so I want to kind of take that, if you don't mind, and
And dissect it.
I'd like to expand on that a little bit as
Let's
a
do it.
dementia expert on communication because it's something that caregivers, carers, and medical professionals, they don't put enough time into learning how to change the way they communicate with someone with cognitive decline in particular, because the communication can be either, just like you said, it can come off as positive or it can come off as negative, right?
Hmm.
So So a negative communication would be something that could trigger an argument. So like telling someone you're not allowed to do something or stop doing this or you can't, right? Those are all words that could trigger or push someone into an argument. They're negative. Another one would be another thing that would incur a negative piece of communication would be, is this communication going to change the outcome? So if it's not going to make a difference in the outcome, then don't even go there. So for instance, the daughter shows up and dad didn't take his pills that morning. And she's like, Dad, you forgot to take your medicine. Dad, oh my God, I called you and I told you to take your medicine. It's not going to change the outcome. He still didn't
Didn't
take the
take his medicine.
medication. So it's going to just turn into a negative problem. Another one is, and this is my biggest, most favorite one, is that communication going to knock them down again or make them feel crappy or feel like a failure? So we have to be asking ourselves as the cognitively intact person, because we're the one that really has the control over which way a conversation goes. Is this communication going to turn out to be negative? Is it going to trigger an argument, change an outcome, knock them down? Instead, we have to be asking ourselves, how can I make this conversation, this communication become a more positive situation? So how can I give them power? So a perfect example, like I just mentioned about the daughter showing up and saying, "Oh, Dad, you forgot to take your pills this morning." Instead, she could make up an excuse for him. "Oh, Dad," this way she's not going to embarrass him, right? Or make him feel like crap. "Oh, Dad, I noticed your pills are still in here. Did you maybe get distracted by your favorite TV show?"
Right.
Right?
That changes the whole thing.
Yeah. So it doesn't put blame. It doesn't induce an argument. It doesn't make them feel like a failure. So we have to give the person their power back. We have to help them build confidence, make them smile, and solve a problem.
That's one thing that and I really, when you said make them smile, that is something that I really didn't notice about myself, was the stoic look that is there.
Hmm.
I noticed it when I was talking to someone else, and I asked my wife, I said, Is that the way I am?" She goes, "Yeah, anymore." And
Mhm.
so smiling is not something I don't, I understand. Make me smile inside. I know I may not smile on my face, but make me smile inside. So I'm not
Right.
going to get argumentative.
Right. Good. Because we're not doing that, Larry.
We're not going to go there.
We're not going to go there. But you know what, Larry? It's so interesting when you bring up the fact about smiling, because first of all, communication is how we as human beings, how we express ourselves as individuals. So communication is being able to express how we feel, what our wishes and desires are. And if we can't do that, then that's when you start having behaviors and problems. When people can't express what they need or what they want. And when you have dementia, it gets harder and harder to do that as the disease progresses. So it's up to the person who's caring for them to be able to adjust to that communication. Because for two cognitively intact people, communication is a 50-50 exchange of information. But when
Yes.
one person has dementia or neurodegeneration, it's lopsided. So somebody has to compensate for that. And it's not the person with dementia.
They don't have the ability to.
Right. Right. They can't control that. They
Right.
can't control their thoughts, emotions, words,
That's
choice of words.
that's something that, being a person living with dementia, not being able to control is it's difficult,
And it's
because
probably
even though
frustrating.
it is frustrating, because I don't want um to be aggressive in my words, but yet it comes out anyway, and it's like I can't filter it like I used to, that, if you will.
Right. Right. So you can't filter. So we, as the care partner or the medical professional, we have to put on our suit of armor. And
Yeah,
we have to just let it bounce off. We have to be forgiving. We have to be. And
yeah,
that's something that I cover completely, like in my course. Like that's not something you can just tell somebody and then they can start practicing it. It's not one of those quick fixes. This is something that you have to kind of go over and over and over and over and over for it to really for you to really be able to do that. It's not,
I think you have to remind yourself. I think my wife, I know, at times she has to remind herself, "Okay, wait a minute," and she'll even say, "Oh, honey, I'm sorry," and she'll put it another way. And so, yeah, it's you're right. It's not something that you're gonna be able to just go and turn a switch and go, okay. It's something you have to work at. And not only does the person have to put their suit of armor on and be forgiving, but I find that living with this on the other side of it, I also have to be forgiving when maybe she gets frustrated with me, and I have to be able to say, okay, and try to not respond to that in a verbally aggressive manner. Um, does that make any sense?
it does. It really does. And I
I
think
find
for you in this particular situation, Larry, like you're in the stage of your disease process that you're still able to do that.
to a
But
degree.
yeah, but as the disease progresses, eventually, like, you
Yeah,
won't have that control anymore.